call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Coleman?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Ms. Hampton?
Here.
Mr. Hunt?
Here.
Mr. Hurt?
Here.
Mr. Rochelle?
Here.
Mr. Wagner?
Here.
Without objection, this meeting will now recess and reconvene after the special call meeting. I'll turn it over to Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. Rochelle. Now call to order this meeting of the full legislative body of Humphreys County. Special call meeting for the express purpose of selecting an ambulance service for the interim term between the current period and the end of the fiscal year, this current fiscal year. Our previous provider, ProMed Eagle Transport, failed to deliver, and according to terms of the contract, they found in breach, and they have been notified. And at this time, and without objection, I'll declare that by unanimous consent that we dissolve into the meeting into a committee of the whole board for the purpose of discussing the subject at hand. Any objection? Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, to date, I've received 3 proposals for providing the interim ambulance service mentioned before. They are in alphabetical order: American Medical Response, who agreed to provide the service at $22,500 per month.
22 what?
$22,500 per month. Same as the previous subsidy, ProMed.
And they're the ones that are doing it now?
Yes, sir. Lifeguard Ambulance Service, who has bid the service at $20,000 per month. And Medic One Medical Response, who has bid it at $22,500 per month. Before moving forward, is there anyone in the audience representing a company not previously mentioned who would like to propose the service? No other takers. That's huge.
This bid is from now until the end of June, until the contract, the new contract RLF comes into effect.
As you know, and for the benefit of those in the audience, we have distributed a request for proposal with a due date for responses of March the 3rd. That distribution was made prior to the failure on the part of Eagle Transport, and that's moving forward as planned. This service and what's being proposed here today by these 3 entities is for the interim period and the remainder of that term previously held by ProMed and then Eagle.
Thank you.
As the 3 previously identified, each of those were invited to appear here today, and if there are no objections, I'll open the floor to them to introduce their company and explain their proposal and field any questions that you might have. Any objections to that? Again, in alphabetical order, AMR, American Medical Response. Please, if you don't mind, we have a microphone there.
Make sure it's turned on.
Okay.
And identify yourself, if you will, please.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Daryl Gibson. I'm the Business Development Manager for American Medical Response for Tennessee and Georgia as well. First of all, I'd like to thank you, the board, as well as the community for allowing us to come in today. I apologize, I wasn't prepared with a statement. I just got the phone call this morning And I was actually over in Nashville conducting some business, and so I wanted to make sure I was here in case you folks had some questions that you already had laid out other than the RFP process itself, which we are responding to. Also, in addition to that, I'd like to offer my sincere apologies to your community as well as your citizens and yourselves. It's always a scary feeling when you have an ambulance company, and those type of things we depend on for our safety and well-being of our citizens and ourselves to have this chain of events. I've been in several communities where this has happened, and it's always with anxiety and fear that that we proceed. But I guess hopefully you folks have seen how eager we were to come in and assist and help in any way we could from the moment we got the call. And really that goes to say a lot about Russell Parsley, which is our East Tennessee and now Middle Tennessee operations manager. He actually is the one who got the boots on the ground here, as well as the ambulance and the staff and to service you folks. But as you look forward into these RFPs and even the statements made by other folks that are here tonight, in the back of your mind, I challenge you, to think of rather than just if it's 22,000 or if it's 20,000. Look beyond and look at stability. Look at the fact is that the company, how stable are they, and they're going to be here to help your citizens and make sure response times are there, as well as the clinical medicine piece. And AMR, we're the largest EMS company in the country, and it's not that way as if we were a huge franchise type deal, but we are only as good as each little community that makes us that. And if you've seen one community, you've seen one. And same thing with the EMS company. You've seen one, you've seen one. We're not a cookie cutter. We actually try to come into each community and approach it strategically and with different plans to service you folks to the best that we can and the service you expect and deserve. So without, if you have any questions I may be able to respond to, again, I apologize I wasn't prepared to actually give a speech, but I'm here to address any concerns you may have for us going forward.
Commissioners, I would encourage you to ask any questions you might have about AMR and about their business in general and their expectations in terms of delivering on this period of service that we're asking them to.
Mr. Gibson,
Yes, sir.
I have just observed your vehicles and your personnel from a distance.
Yes, sir.
Just in passing, I'm very impressed with the appearance that your employees have. I know right now this is a honeymoon type
Right.
thing. What's going to happen, 4 months from now, 6 months from now? Is this caliber of people that you have now, are we still going to have this quality, or once the honeymoon's over and we've got the contract, we don't care?
Well, absolutely good question. And in response to that, you're right. You have that beginning phase, as you call it, a honeymoon phase. But in this scenario, it's a little bit different because, we came in such a quick response. I'm glad you feel that way, because the employees that we have will be probably a lot of the employees that you had previously here, as long as they're vetted and go through our system. We have certain standards that we uphold our crews and our colleagues to, but we don't necessarily bust people in. In this scenario, we had to, because obviously, we had to come in and take care of the job at hand. But in saying that, we will, we'll be even more prepared as we progress. In other words, the people that you would have here will be people from your community, within your community, and maybe folks that have already been serving. We've seen over the past that usually the best people to do the job are the people that are already in the community doing it already. It's just giving them the skill set and the tools necessary to remove those roadblocks and allow them to function effectively for you. But we do have a very high standard of training, as well as ethics, and of course you've seen our vehicles, and that's the way we operate. So if anything, it would be better in 4 months than it is right now.
Sir, if I could add to that, Josh, stand up for a second. I got the phone call at 6:15.
Do you need to know who he is first?
Please.
I'm Russell Parsley. I'm the operations manager. Russell Parsley. Yes. I grabbed him. He was on a truck. Him and his partner were already on shifts. Because it was so quick, I grabbed them off the truck. So this is exactly how he was dressed. I actually had to buy him undergarments while we were here. So we came with what we had because we had such short time. And to answer your question about the equipment, the vehicles, one truck came from Nashville, the other truck came from Memphis in order to save time. So the way they look exactly the same and how clean they are is how they came here from different divisions. So I mean that'll kind of help you know that and explain how we look and how we hold them to a higher standard. So
Thank you.
Absolutely, and Russell brought up a good point. You know, it's not that we cherry picked an ambulance or a crew. We kind of did the best we could with what time frame we had. So, you know, the short answer is, as time goes on, it would be even better than it has been so far.
And just for clarification's sake, what AMR is proposing here today is to provide a level of service consistent with what was previously contractually obligated to your predecessor, to the predecessor of whoever assumes the role after today, at that same cost supplementation.
Right. Hopefully, like I said, you won't see an increase in your costs, but you will see an increase in your efficiencies in the service in your community. And then as we go on, like I said, you know, a lot of folks were displaced employment-wise from the actions that had happened, and we would look to save as much as that as possible as far as your folks from your community.
Mr. Graham.
Mr. Wallace, would you just explain to everybody what level of service that we are contracted for at this point?
Currently, the previous contract held that a minimum of 2 ALS ambulances would be employed here in Humphreys County for use for emergency transportation, medical transportation. We required that one of those ambulances, we have at least an ALS, established ALS ambulance inside the county at all times to provide service for those emergencies that are within the county. Well, those are the pertinent pieces of it, Mr. Graham. Is there anything specifically?
I just want to make sure everybody knows what level we're supposed to be at this point and where we're going to go from here.
Yeah, it differs.
What they're going to do.
Yeah, it differs significantly, or to some extent, from what we requested in the request for proposals for the term beginning July 1st. But so basically, what I'm hearing from AMR is they're willing to provide the service at the level that ProMed provided it or greater.
And the greater would be the word to leverage that. Because there's a lot of added service. I'm not really familiar with what was done before as far as in your community, not just answering a call when it comes out, but if AMR is the interim, we would be very proactive in a lot of community outreach between now and the time that it's awarded. And what I mean by that is a lot of your school systems as well as your neighborhoods, it's kind of like you have neighborhood watches. We also do the same thing, but as far as CPR, and first responder type training that we do outreach-wise in the community to try to make it as big as impact we can on pre-hospital incidents with folks in the community. And there's no charge for that type of stuff. That's just stuff we try to do in the community.
In the past, we have had promises of first responders, and I know our county fire department is really wanting to do something along those lines, and the promises have been there before and never
Came to fruition.
right.
Well, and, you know, when I was looking a little bit at the demographic of this area and population, it reminds me a lot of a community in East Tennessee, county-wise, McMinn. And I hate to defer, but Russell, how many first responders did we train last year? 200?
we restarted 120 training.
Okay, so it's about 200 people. And the way we look at it is, you know, we're judged in the CARES database, every community that we serve, we're judged by third party as far as what difference and impact we've made on making it either more survivability or less debilitating outcomes on patients. And so it's to our benefit as well as every community that we serve that everyone that we can, you know, within earshot can be trained in first aid, first responder, CPR. Yeah, that's to everyone's benefit, especially the community. And those promises aren't empty promises. You know, I'd be willing to at your leisure to share with you or forward you guys and ladies the information of communities that we've done this with in the past and the numbers to back that up.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Hunt?
Yes, two things. I'd like to thank AMR for coming in here at our needs
Yes, sir.
and took care of it. And the day before the meeting, I made a couple of contacts that I know that works in this profession, and I had nothing but good words about AMR. So that would really impress me.
Thank you, sir. And just so you know, from the president of our company on down, even myself, I can still go work on an ambulance as well. Russell, the operations manager, he worked on an ambulance, all weekend. I think maybe some folks here that he actually helped their families. So it's all about the why. Why do we get in this business? It's to help you. For myself and then president on down, it is to actually help and make a difference in people's lives. And as long as we all remember the why, the what to take care of itself.
Anyone else have a question for Mr. Gibson or anyone, any of the other personnel present representing AMR this time?
I was very impressed with, I went down there this morning and went through the ambulances, and Russell was very helpful with me to understand the equipment and what you could do for the citizens of Humphreys County. I've had more phone calls from citizens that are very impressed with the services, and I feel like it's a very high quality service that we have at this point, and I have all expectations that it's a good job.
Thank you very much.
How can the citizens, once the honeymoon is over and there's a problem, how can they get it resolved?
In what respect?
Poor service, not getting there on time. And,
Sure.
Why not have to wait 2 hours
Right.
out on the side of the road?
Well, we work very closely, not only with the 911 board, for example, or even with you folks, in making sure that our times are where they're supposed to be, and we're compliant with all of the requirements. We also have an open door policy to anybody in the community. An operations manager would be there daily, as well as operations supervisors. We handle all of our own billing. We work with folks on that. It's not a threat to any one person. If someone did have an issue, again, it's open door policy. You can walk right in and speak with any one of us. We always have someone there in the office, and we're very compassionate and understanding. We want to make sure it's right. And we're the kind of company, I've done it before, where I've looked at an incident, because no one company is perfect. There's always things that can happen, unfortunately. But I've been involved in situations where we kind of go ahead and kind of be ahead of the game, so to speak, and call the family and be proactive. EMS in general is very reactive. My history was law enforcement. We only went to your house if you called. Same thing with EMS. It's very reactive as an organization. But we've tried to change that culture over the last 10, 15 years and become more proactive, where if there is an issue, and if we know we're supposed to be there, and let's say it's 15 minutes and it's been 20 minutes, we're proactive to follow up with the family that day with the supervisor to go and let them know, we apologize, it took us 20 minutes to get here. Not giving excuses, but just let them know we care. It's not, it took us 20 minutes and it doesn't matter. Every call is important because it's somebody's emergency, and we do take it very seriously.
So if I can say one more thing, I'm not really good at speaking, but the short time that we've been here, no matter who becomes your provider, I would definitely suggest, we've been to level 0 8 times in 7 days, where we didn't have any ambulances available, and we sent first responders, and I finally brought in the third ambulance, and we would continue to use that third ambulance during this 6-month period, because I mean it's really almost impossible to insure an ambulance in this county because of the size of it, all the time, unless you have that third ambulance. But the other thing would be, internally, we have a quarterly compliance review to kind of check ourselves. But that would be something that your committee, your 911 committee, you should, every quarter, you should pull numbers from the 911, from the CAD, from the 911 center, and have a compliance meeting. And that way you can make sure that the company that's providing service for you is holding up their end of the deal, and then we do the same internally to make sure that we're holding up our end of the deal. Because, I mean, it could be a posting procedure or a relocation of a truck to meet compliance as far as response times or on-scene times. But anyway, that was just a suggestion.
And I hope you all captured what he just said. Currently, you require 2, right? Did everyone hear how many we have here? We have 3. You're not paying for that. Over the next 6 months, you're still gonna have 3, even though you're not paying for that. So that's why I wanted to touch base earlier when you said the same or greater service. You currently have and will continue to have greater service and response times than what you had, because we do have 3 units here.
Any other questions? Comments?
Mr. Wallace, I have a question, but it's more toward a representative from the hospital. I was wondering how the relationship was with the AMR, if anyone from the hospital could speak.
Is there someone in the hospital would like to comment on or reply to Commissioner Spencer's question?
We've had excellent service, no complaint at all. They've been very professional, quick to respond, very helpful. Couldn't say anything any more than good words for them. Good patient care.
Is that okay, Ms. Spencer?
Yes, that's what I was
Any
wondering.
more questions or comments?
One more.
I have something I would like to say, if y'all would allow me just a moment.
Mind come forward and identify yourself.
I don't mind at all. For those of you, my name is Candy Breeden. I don't need that all loud. I talk loud. My name is Candy Breeden, and I'm here on behalf of my husband, Junior Breeden. He is one of your Humphreys County linemen. And for those of you who do not know, he was involved in an accident. He fell off the back of their digger truck last Tuesday. I got the call from Lynn Mayberry. I work for Coleman Family Care Clinic. And I got the call at 4:19 on the caller ID that he had taken a bad fall. And no disregard to the speed limit, Mr. Davis, but it takes me from my house 7 minutes to get from my house to Coleman Family Care Clinic. And by the time I had made it from the clinic to Meriwether Lewis, where he was at, they were already pulling in the parking lot. They were on him like no other. I cannot describe to you the response that we got from them. These gentlemen were very professional. I cannot describe to you, the back of that ambulance was clean as a whistle. Julie Coleman is here with me today to verify. She got on the back of the ambulance, looked it over, and she can tell you what it looked like. That's the first thing she looked at was the equipment. She said it was top-notch, #1 textbook material. And had it not been for their quick response time and their actions that they done for my husband that day, when they life-lighted him out of here, he may not have had the outcome that he had. So I'm pleading with you to please keep this AMR ambulance service here in our county. We need them. We need them very badly. We have been overwhelmed with phone calls from people such as you all. Mr. Reed Dredden has called. I just cannot express enough gratitude that everyone has shown towards my husband. It's been unreal. And I want to thank everyone for allowing me to come up and speak my piece. And if Julie would please step in and let them know, let everybody here know.
Yeah, on Tuesday I spoke with the supervisors of the ambulance service because I noticed that they were new and the service was so good, and spoke with, what's your name? Russell. and his partner as well, and everything they done was absolutely excellent. You couldn't have asked for anything better. And never have I seen equipment that clean in this county in a long time. They did an excellent job.
And she's been in the back of many ambulance. And that's the first thing she looked at was the equipment. And it was, she said, like she said, textbook, A#1, top notch. Said we need this in our county, we need them to stay. Please consider keeping them, please.
Thank you.
I thank y'all for letting me speak, and along with a very bad concussion, a couple of broke ribs, and a broke thumb, he's gonna be okay. We have surgery Wednesday, so I think he's gonna be all right. And he'll be back turning your lights on again for you very soon. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Gibson, I have just one more question that I can think of.
Yes, sir.
Communication, how do you communicate with the 911, the sheriff, your units, cell phones, or?
Well, a lot of areas
how?
are different, and what I'll do is I'll defer that to Russell, being on the operations side for here, what we're doing.
Right now, your EMA director, he, because it was such short notice and the equipment didn't, you know, obviously isn't gonna be the same, but you guys, the county provided us with some backup radios, portables, and then they had a radio guy come in that morning, Saturday morning when we got here, and he programmed your backup. The sheriff could probably clarify that, but it's 3 repeaters. It's the old backup. It's not the trunking system, it's the backup system. But we would immediately put the equipment in and have your people, the guy that did the programming, you know, set us up to be where we'd be on your primary. So.
Okay, with the trunking system,
Yes, sir.
so you would change your equipment over to?
Oh, absolutely.
that charge?
Yes, sir. Yes. We have, one of the trucks actually had dual band, I mean, it has 800 capabilities. So one of them worked. He actually programmed it. The other one we had to do a little flip-flop real quick with one of your old radios at the city building. So, but yeah, that as far as that goes, the trucks that we would bring in here would have everything ready to go. We would spec them out for what we needed.
Absolutely. And like, as I deferred to it, but I didn't know if you were referring to how we're doing it now, or how would we end up being.
How would you do it?
No, we would be on your system, because obviously for us to be more compliant and be able to be as responsive to your citizens, your community, I mean, the first step of that is communication. If we can't get the call out, then it's kind of all downhill from there. So now we would make sure it was up to par what you're using now.
It would be exactly what would be required, because the way we're doing it now isn't 100% efficient. So it would I mean, just for our guys' sake, it would be exactly what, you know, it would be identical to what you have in your patrol cars and everything else.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Ms. Gibson, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms.
Thank you.
Parsley, thank you for your input and the input of those in the audience. We're glad that Candy's husband's doing well too.
I'd like to say thank you to this community. Russell had told me, I guess the first day or 2 days we're here, just how open arms and welcoming your community is. And that people taking up by sandwiches and pizza. He said he said his actual words were, well, you haven't been in a town where people are this nice.
No, it's very, very overwhelming, and no matter what happened,
Right.
it was I'm glad I was a part of it, and there's no regret on our part, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The second proposal is being tendered by lifeguard ambulances. Mr. Denham, would you identify yourself for the record, please?
My name's David Denholm. I'm with Lifeguard Ambulance. And I am sorry about what's going on with the ambulance situation here. EMS companies are typically not like that. You're going to find in EMS companies in Middle Tennessee more like the 3 companies represented here tonight. Okay, we've all got ethics. We've all got standards. To our core, logistically, we're all doing similar things, so we look a lot alike. And that's why it's so competitive in Middle Tennessee. So what we've done, and just a little bit about Lifeguard Lifeguard, we arrived here in 2004. We've been here for 10 years now. We're established. We've got the largest contracts you can have in Middle Tennessee. We've got the largest footprint you can have in Middle Tennessee. Things that set us apart from our competitors, because that's what we're talking about. I mean, they've done an excellent job, and you can't dismiss that. Or we're CAS accredited, and that's the gold standard ambulance companies set themselves to, and we've already achieved that in November of 2012. So we're working on our second year of having that accreditation. Took me 2.5 years to get that. So again, very similar. Trucks are similar, uniforms are similar, personnel, quality personnel, the training, the first responders. We've identified all of that. And I don't want to repeat everything Mr. Gibson has said, but we're very similar in that. And it's who's going to get in there, who's going to dig in, who's going to know your firefighters, your police officers, who's going to train your first responders. And I don't want to give you my whole presentation that we're going to have in July, but very similar. We've got the little things that do set us apart. You know, I live here in Spring Hill. My 2 paramedic supervisors with me, they live here, they've worked here for years. You know, we understand, you know, what the ProMed people, legal people are going through. You know, we've reached out to them just like everybody else. We need them. They know the county, they know how to get around, they know the ins and outs, we understand all of that. So, that's my short version. Any questions?
We're looking at 2 ambulances with you.
Well, we would do the same thing. The city of Spring Hill, we provide 911 ambulance service. Now down there are 2 ALS units embedded with the fire department. We've been doing that for 3 years now. And we're working on an extension that could be upwards of 5 years. At times we've had upwards of 7 units in that city covering the city. So we've got 30 ambulances in Nashville right now. And what we do is, as we go down to a level of 0, because we're all trained the same in this system status management, so all three companies are similar in that respect, is units will rotate this way. We're also going back to the first responders, you need medical direction for your first responders. We've got 2 medical
And just to clarify with you, you're offering to provide a service equal or greater to that which has been previously contracted to Humphreys County with Eagle/ProMed at a rate of $20,000 per month for the remainder from now until the 1st of July.
Well, absolutely, and it'll work out to be greater. Quality companies are going to do that.
Questions or comments? Comments or questions for Mr. Denham?
What was the gold standard thing he was talking about? I didn't.
The Commission on the Accreditation of Ambulance Services.
Okay.
So, and it's an independent entity that comes out and evaluates your operation and everything you do, from your call taking, to your dispatching, to your billing, to your fleet maintenance. Just then going through my fleet maintenance records, I mean, that was a day process as they evaluated both mechanics. And that was just the Nashville operation.
Okay.
How many counties in Tennessee do you serve now?
Okay, main stations are in Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville, substations all over the place, about 18 counties total.
And your communication with the 911, is your dispatchers here, or would you use the 911, or?
Well, we've got twofold. For the hospital, communicating with the hospital, we would have them call our dispatch center here in Nashville with our dispatchers there 24/7. Locally, though, we'd want to be dispatched by the local 911. Typically, you shave about 2 minutes off your response times being dispatched locally.
And if the hospital calls, how do you get back here to your units?
I met with Nancy, and what I want to do is dispatch them out of Nashville so we don't pull the resources out of here.
Okay, send the unit from Nashville then.
Right. But that depends on if it's an emergent patient, non-emergent. It all depends on the patient. I mean, it's about people.
Well, 36 years ago today, we had a disaster.
I'm aware of that.
And it's ironic that we're sitting here this afternoon discussing ambulance service. So that's on the forefront of a lot of our minds, because that can happen again.
We are not the same industry that you were dealing with. These three companies were nothing like that. We're looking for a trial. Give us a shot. You know, they get a shot, give us a shot. You'll be amazed at what we see.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the audience relative to lifeguard? Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. The next proposal from Medic One, Medical Response.
My name's Jim Merriweather. I'm from Medical One Medical Response. I'm the director of the Delta Division, which is Nashville, Memphis, North Mississippi. Much like my predecessors have said, we, I think any of the three services you choose will be a good decision. A lot of us believe in the education of our employees and moving forward and working custom building for what the county needs, working with the county. Whatever kind of service y'all would want, we'd be willing to provide. It's just a matter of the open communications between the committee and our company. We provide ALS service in 12 different counties in the state of Tennessee. Everything from 911 emergency to non-emergency work, doing event standbys, just a little bit of everything, wherever the need is. Critical care transport to flight transport. Education-wise, we are in the process of doing the first responder program up in Unicoi as we speak right now, and building it up to what the county's comfortable with and what we're comfortable with as well, as far as providing better care for your constituents. Myself, I'd be responsible to this board. We have a local supervisor, and then on meeting days, I come in and answer questions, comments, concerns, and so forth. All of us are paramedics and administration with Medic One. We have 2 ALS crews here tonight. We have brand new equipment. Invite any of y'all to come out, look at our equipment, talk to our people. Besides that, like I said, we're a Class A service, and we'd be happy to serve the county and local community.
Mr. Merriweather, I'll ask you the same question I asked the other two entities. You're prepared to provide the service equal to or greater than what we were previously engaged with at a cost of $22,500
Yes, sir. And
per month?
We'd also bring a third truck to help out. We'd also backfill from Nashville and Memphis as needed. Dispatch-wise, I think we prefer to go through local 911. We absolutely can provide our own dispatch, but like I said, I'd rather custom build your system to run how y'all would like for it to run.
Mr. Medlory, where are you housed out of?
I'm in Memphis personally.
Okay. And are you the closest one to us?
No, Nashville would be a closer operation.
Okay. So if we had problems, that's where we would go to?
No, you'd have a supervisor in town. I'd have a manager here.
Okay. Would that same level of units be here after the honeymoon?
Yes, sir. Probably the exact same trucks.
Who else? Anybody else got a question? Mr. Merriweather, Mr. Hurst?
Question, yeah. You got here black box technology and all this other things. Do y'all have anything different that sets y'all apart from these other companies, or?
Good question.
I think all of us have AllSafe or a Big Brother driving technology, black box, AllSafe, Street Eagle. And that's just so we can provide safety for the community and safety for our crews.
That provides real-time data on the
Absolutely.
performance of whatever crew is in that vehicle at the time. Is that
Who the
right?
crew is, what they're doing. It has video cameras that keep up with both the cab and what's going on in their surroundings. And we have cell phones. Also, you'd have the radio communication as well, but the cell phone would be a backup system.
You'd use a radio communications.
Be the radio communications y'all use.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Questions or comments from the audience for this provider?
Wallace, may I say a word, please?
Yes, sir.
I'm Jim Reeves. I'm the CEO of Medical Response. I just want to say thank you for allowing us all in here this evening. Appreciate your time. Sorry you're going through this situation. 2011, March 2011, Unicoi County, Tennessee was posed with the same problem y'all have right now. They had an ambulance service that was shutting down. And we bid on that contract rather quickly, wasn't expecting to win the bid, and we did. And so if you look in the documentation we provided y'all, there's some newspaper articles and some letters from the county mayor, the sheriff, and the EMA director outlining the level of service we've provided. Unicoi County was a rather unique county because they had had 6 ambulance providers in about a 4-year period. Every ambulance company that had came in had failed to live up to its promises, including the same ambulance that you had here previously to today operating in Unicoi County. We've been the longest provider there. I've challenged the county executive to speak with Mayor Lynch to verify what we've done.
I did.
We have exceeded their expectations, and I believe I can speak confidently on their behalf, but we have not only had the best response times, they requested 4-wheel drive ambulances since they are up in the mountains. We delivered that. They requested satellite tracking so their PSAP could see where the ambulances are at all time. We delivered that. They requested electronic medical records. We delivered that. They requested power stretchers. We delivered that. They requested safe driving. We delivered that. Gone are the days in Unicoi County where we would race 100 miles an hour to an ambulance scene because the data doesn't support that. The data supports getting good quality help to the scene as opposed to racing to the scene. And so we've done that. We've participated with the high school. They started a first responder program. We now teach high school students to become first responders as an elective in the school. We've offered that with the fire departments. When we got there, they had an illegal first responder program. They had unlicensed, unmedically trained people responding to medical calls. We didn't want to come in and say, no, you can't do that, but we wanted to make sure they had educated folks showing up to the scenes. So we started training them as first responders, and now I'm pleased to say that the county fire departments have qualified medical help showing up on ambulance calls. We've put AEDs in the sheriff's patrol cars. We started working with Mountain States Health Alliance, which is the hospital there, to build a stat heart program. Because before we came into Unicoi County, nobody knew what the survivability rates for out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, which nobody in this room knows what the survivability rate for out-of-hospital cardiac arrest here in Humphreys County, because nobody's measuring the data. And our industry, what separates us from the other folks, is attention to detail. We analyze data, probably a little too much. We're a little over-analytical. But we have data now that we can support what it is we do for the citizens that we care for. If you choose us in 6 months, I'll be able to put data down to show you that not only are we saving lives, we're improving the quality of life. Because, again, in the early days in our industry, we would run to that scene as fast as we can. That was the only quality benchmark we measured was response times. But nowadays, the care we provide in the back of that ambulance not only makes a difference if that patient survived, but it also makes a difference on their overall quality of life. If we've got a patient that's having chest pain and we don't get medications on board to reduce that myocardial oxygen demand or dilate those coronary arteries, that patient's going to suffer a worse outcome. They may live with a debilitating, morbid condition the rest of their life. So we spend a lot of time on the quality in the back of the ambulance. We want to make sure our EMTs and paramedics are well qualified. We do our own in-house education. We are certified through the National Registry in the state of Texas. We can give CEUs. We do our own in-house education for their CEU renewals. We also have our own in-house critical care paramedic program that is actually allows them to sit for the board certification for critical care. We're working on the first of its kind paramedic to RN program. Now we know that paramedics have a short lifespan. About 5 years they get burned out because it's a stressful job. So we want to offer our staff an opportunity to better themselves while they're working for us. We know they'll leave us after they become RNs, but we're working on that program to help enhance. We spend a lot of time on our employees. We have great benefits. We have vision, dental, health, life, accidental death and dismemberment, but we have a retirement program. And that's something that a lot of providers don't offer their employees. The folks that have worked here, I've had dinner with them. I've been here, I've addressed y'all before about a year ago. These folks have endured unimaginable conditions. And that is not what an ambulance service should represent to its citizens. That's not what it should represent our industry. And the fact that they have stayed here and worked without paychecks is commendable. I don't know if I could do that, but that is very commendable that they've done that. This county's due for a stable, fiscally stable, but qualified ambulance service. And as they've all spoke, they will all provide that service. There's really not a whole lot that separates the three in this room, because I do feel if you don't choose Medic 1, and Mayor, I've told you that, you can't go wrong with AMR Lifeguard. There's no wrong decision in this room today. I do think that we're a little better, only because I'm pretty hands-on. I'm the CEO, the buck stops with me, and I'm real engaged, and you will see and hear from me very frequently. We will participate in the community. We'll make sure that the citizens are involved. We do a lot of health fairs. We do a lot of community involvement. And we want to be a part of this community. We have for several years. And I do want to show you that data. I want to show you those clinical indicators, those performance indicators I'm talking about, that we can demonstrate to y'all that we're making a difference in your county.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Reeves or Mr. Meriwether? Thank you so much. Any questions from the audience for either of these gentlemen? Any other general comments from the audience or the commission?
I have a question, Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Hurt.
Where do we stand on the dialysis center that's coming in, or?
I think they're hoping to get established and up and running by the 1st of April, is what I was told the last time I made an inquiry about that. Somebody might have more up-to-date information about that.
My just more of a general statement than question is, I know Stewart County, they have about the same population we did, and they had 2 dialysis patients one year, and they do their own ambulance service, but they was able to break even one year. And I think if we have a dialysis plant, that might be beneficial to these companies that are coming in and bidding. So I hope that, they would know about that and be able to be aware of that situation. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I know that representatives from all 3 of the companies proposing to you tonight have been in the community probably much before the crisis that presented itself Friday evening. But I know that they've been here in mass, looking at our healthcare facilities, interviewing those key players in the community, and getting a feel for what's needed here. And I'm buoyed by that kind of attention to detail, because it proves that they don't want to go in here blind, and they're not trying to just get the business to expand their company profile. I've checked with the state of Tennessee and with, like Mr. Hunt suggested, with other folks, and it's hard to find a hole in any of these operations. I think that they all would have been willing and have expressed their desire to help us out when between the time the crisis presented itself and the time that AMR responded to their first call, initiated by the previous provider. AMR has been suggested here, certainly rode in here on their white horse, and you couldn't have asked for a better exposure and a better experience from at least trying to manage that situation. I'll be forever appreciative of Mr. Parsley and his crew for what they've done here and their willingness to cooperate. But it all boils down to a choice that you all have to make. There are three good providers here that'll give us, any one of whom will give us a level of support that we're unaccustomed to around here. I'm glad to see the industry evolving to the point where good companies can make enough money to provide service to small rural communities like ours who have suffered because of an inherent lack of dying people. Thank goodness.
Mr. Walker. Well, the same token, I'd have to say the county executive, I think this fell in his lap last Friday evening around 5 o'clock or something like that, and worked through the weekend, and he deserves some praise for getting this worked out too. I think there is a plus for AMR. We went through a lot of turmoil with ambulance services, and they're actually in place, and it'd be less of a transition and none at all if we could perhaps take a long look at that rather than having to switch again to something else. That's my thoughts on this. A little difference in money there, but yet sometimes dollars is not the bottom line on everything. And either one of these three here, I think, would do an excellent job. I do. But it's going to be the call of the county commission. I guess select one here in a few minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Redden. Any more comments while we're still in committee status?
Oh, Ms. Wallace, you said you talked to the county executive of Unicoi County?
I did. Yes, he had high praise for Medic One's service to their community.
Are all three of these companies going to place bids, as far as you know?
As far as I know. And we'll all know in about a week.
About a week.
A week from now, we'll know.
After all, I guess whoever we select is only for 4 months. There's only 4 months left on this, and then we'll rebid it at the end of June.
Yeah, we'll, in the midst of the transition into whoever provides the service until June 30, we'll be in the process of establishing a longer-term relationship with that company or another one, depending on we tried to give ourselves, I'm not going to extend this any longer than necessary, but we tried to position ourselves to make to give ourselves plenty of time to review the responses to the RFP, the request for proposals that outlined our criteria for service needs. And hopefully our intention was to review those, select those that we were most impressed with, and do a interview presentation process and make a decision in plenty of time to budget for that when we do our budget in that May time frame, consistent with preparing for the new contract term. And that's going to continue. I'm confident that whoever gets the nod here tonight will provide that service in good faith until June 30, and whatever company takes over then will be based on the results of the review and decision from that RFP process.
Mr. Wallace.
Mr.
I think what would carry a lot of weight with me is Miss Nancy Daniel out there saying of how good and made with all three, but what she has said, working with a hospital. That's, I believe, it's a very key thing we need to think about.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel.
Mr. Wallace,
Hampton?
are we going to be taking these bids in our budget meeting that we will be having in May for our next fiscal year?
No, ma'am, we'll decide before we have the budget workshop which
Okay.
company and what that dollar figure is gonna look like. But that was the reason for getting this out early. We hadn't counted on
Yes.
things happening like they did. All right, hearing no other questions or comments, and without objection, I declare this committee of the whole adjourned and report the proceedings to the meeting of the full board, which is resumed at this point. At this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Etheridge to call roll. We have a full body here tonight, and that translates into a simple majority being awarded the contract for the remainder of the fiscal year. It's going to take 8 votes to constitute that majority. And she'll call your name. If you will, please respond with either AMR, Lifeguard, or Medic 1.
Mr. Wallace.
Yes, sir.
Can we
Mr. Rochelle.
recess for just a few minutes? Is that possible?
We can. Is any objection to a short recess?
Judge, I'd only caution you that you can't get outside and start discussing these things. We're getting ready to take a vote. I think we'll go ahead and proceed with it.
Okay. Very good. All right, there's where we're at. We're going to call a roll. We respond with AMR, Lifeguard, or Medic 1. Any clarification needed for that, for the rules of this decision? Ms. Etheridge.
Mr. Coleman,
AMR.
Mr. Daniel,
AMR.
Mr. Dredden,
AMR.
Mr. Graham,
AMR.
sorry,
AMR.
Mr. Hall,
AMR.
Ms. Hampton,
AMR.
Mr. Hooper,
AMR.
Mr. Hunt,
AMR.
Mr. Hurt,
AMR.
Mr. Mayberry,
AMR.
Mr. Rochelle,
AMR.
Ms. Spencer,
AMR.
Mr. Wagner.
AMR.
That'll be it, it's passed.
Decision has been made.
Hughes, I'm sorry, I missed Mr. Hughes.
AMR.
Thank you. Your name, Donna.
Before moving forward, I'd be remiss if I didn't offer my gratitude and the gratitude of this board and the community as a whole to Lifeguard and to Medic 1. We hope that your interest in serving our community has not been diluted to the point that you don't respond to the RFP. We acknowledge the quality of the services you bring to the communities you serve, and we feel like that they're better for that, and we thank you for that. Mr. Hughes.
One other comment I do want to make, and I appreciate AMR for stepping up, and I'm sure the other 2 companies would have done if they'd had that opportunity. I've heard nothing but good from all 3 of you. And it's delightful to have competitive bids and competitive business, and looking forward to next month's meeting. Thank you. No other questions.
Next item on the agenda, resolution to award, authorizing me to craft, finalize, and execute a contract with American Medical Response for the provision of ambulance service in Humphreys County for the period ending June 30, 2014.
So moved.
Have a motion, Mr. Dredden.
Second it.
Second, Mr. Hunt. Questions or comments?
Mr. Coleman,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Daniel,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dredden,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Ms. Hampton,
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Hooper?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Hurt?
Yes.
Mr. Mayberry?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Ms. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Mr. Gibson, you still in the audience?
Yes, sir.
Can you briefly approach the podium one more time, you or Mr. Parsley, and for the benefit of those healthcare professionals in the emergency medical transportation field who are in the audience tonight, who might be an asset, or certainly would be an asset to your company, and who might want to pursue that, can you give a little direction to them for how to make that happen?
It's really an easy way to do it. Just go online. It's www.amr.net or .com, rather, I'm sorry. My email address is .com. And what you'll find there is actually an overview of the company altogether, and as well as the application process. Just go online, hit submit. It goes right into our HR group for here. We'll also be pulling those and making phone calls from there and get into an orientation process. Also, the neat thing about AMR, as from an employee standpoint, is there's so many things you can do with AMR. In other words, if you have aspirations of being a nurse, we have nurses. If you want to be a doctor, we have our own physician company. If you want to be a pilot, we have our own fixed wing aircraft piece. If you want to work on move down and work in the Gulf Coast, all your old Erics and stuff, well, that's our medics and all those as well. If you ever watch, what is that, Deadliest Catch, where they go out in Alaska, those are our medics on those ships. We also do a lot of barges in Alaska, not trying to get people to move from here. But just, you'll see everything about the company as a whole, as well as being able to apply. Once you come on board AMR, if you ever want to move, you go to the same website and it'll show you anywhere in the United States. We're in 46 states right now. And you can go and look at other locations in case your spouse moves or you want to move somewhere else in the country. And we grow our folks. There's all kinds of schooling as well as we call a SOAR program. Like myself, I was on the ambulance and decided I wanted to go on the business aspect. Russell was, on the ambulance and still does work on ambulance, but wanted to go into operations management. And what they do is they team you up with a mentor that's already doing that type job, and you work collaboratively together across the United States. We'll actually fly you and put you with your mentor, and you can do things to learn that aspect of the healthcare industry. But yeah, just go on there, go online and apply. I also challenge you to go by and you can see Russell over at the base over here. Right?
Yeah. Wednesday, starting Wednesday, just come over. The process he's talking about is
In the process, but I've already got it cleared through HR to fast track. You guys need to be
good
back working. So, and we need you. So, and I've talked to several of you, but starting Wednesday, and I'll have extra HR flying in when I give you a phone call tonight. So, just come on up Wednesday, and even if you don't have time, or if you have trouble, we'll have people to help you get online if you have any issue finding where to apply it. So we'll kind of guide you through that. But orientation will probably take a week. I mean, you're looking at a week out from. We do have a very vigorous orientation process. So, but we'll start this Wednesday. Just come on, and we'll fast track it.
What we do too is, I've got my card, and I'll be glad I've got enough in my pocket to give everybody that's here that needs one, and make sure that you know how to get up with Russell. If you have any questions about what time Wednesday and going forward, so however I can get that information dispersed, let me know. And I also wanted to say too, I cross paths a lot with Lifeguard and Medic One in Tennessee, and really you can't go wrong with any one of the three companies. I appreciate the opportunity, and we'll do you justice for allowing us, and I think we'll exceed your expectations. But my hat's off to those guys as well, because they do a good job too.
All right, having concluded the business specified for this special meeting of the full board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make it a motion, Mr.
Daniel?
I'm sorry, can I ask one quick question?
Of course.
Would it be easier for your citizens and the healthcare professionals if you have do you have a web page, a county web page?
We have one.
I can do it on Visit Humphreys.
There you go.
I was gonna say, then that way she could put in the address, the phone number of a contact, just so, as you tell friends and whoever else is here in the community, they can just pull it up and that may be easier.
I'll make sure
way.
the chamber has the information as well.
Okay.
Very good. Have a motion, Mr. Daniels, second by, who was it? Mr. Hall? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
You want to go right into your meeting?